Hey, what's up? Welcome to episode 6 of Candid Reviews. Happy New Year to everyone who's watching, and I hope you had a safe and happy holiday. So, this review is going to be on a book called Captivate: The Science of Succeeding with People by Vanessa Van Edwards. So, Vanessa is a self professed recovering awkward person. She is the lead investigator at her human behavior research lab called The Science of People, and she designs original research experiments to crack the code of human behavior. When you understand the laws of human behavior, you can get along with anyone, and your influence, impact, and income, according to her, will increase as a result. Now, what's more, you will improve your interpersonal intelligence, make a killer first impression, and also build rapport quickly and authentically in any situation. Now, she states that you will never interact in the same way again. So, I first became aware of Vanessa when I saw an interview of her on impact theory with Tom Villiers. I was obviously instantly interested in her discovery, so of course I had to know more, and so I found her book, picked it up, and read it. And so here I am doing this review. Okay, so one of the takeaways from this book is called Winning at the Social Game. Now, I admit that I am dreadful at the social game, and in fact, I consider myself to be a pretty socially awkward person. Small talk is certainly not my forte, and social events can be incredibly draining for me. Now, unfortunately, it's not always possible to avoid social events, and nor is it particularly helpful for your social life to actually do so. So, Vanessa talks about something in the book called developing what is called a social game in order to help you excel in these situations. Ideally, your social game will focus on the social context that you dislike the least. Now, this is because if you try to fake your way through it, people are more likely to sense this, and you will ultimately have trouble connecting. Now, if you're anything like me, when you arrive at a social event, you'll make a beeline for the one person you know, and then you won't want to venture out to engage with other people for the duration of the event. This is clearly not an effective social strategy, and people will see you as being closed off to interacting with others, and this actually makes you difficult to approach. Now, Vanessa suggests that when you go to a party, you should mentally divide the room into three zones. So you have the start zone, or the entrance, and depending on how formal the event was, this could also be where people check their coats or their bags. Then you have the social zone, which is usually near the bar or the host. And then you have the side zone. So this will contain things like restrooms and food and, kind of those awkward narrow passageways between groups of friends. So a good social strategy could look something like this. So you initially thank your host for the event, you ask him or her for introductions, and then you can strike up a conversation with someone who is near the bar. People in this area are usually much more receptive to conversation as there are fewer distractions and they are usually ready to engage. If you err more on the socially anxious side, it is helpful to identify people you like being with. So think of friends who make you laugh, people who give good advice, and help bring out the best in you. Now, these are what Vanessa calls your wingers. Now, you can leverage these relationships to help you feel more comfortable interacting with new people in these situations. Okay, so the second point that I took from the book is about first impressions. So, you make a decision about a person within seconds of meeting them, and this is why first impressions are important. It's not about what you say, but how you present yourself that determines whether people want to talk to you more or not. And people tend to judge others based off of their body language, their facial expressions, their tone of voice. So Vanessa talks about something in her book called the triple threat. And now this is made up of three simple nonverbal components. So they are hands, posture, and eye contact. Hands are important to the equation because they can reveal a person's intentions. In this age, you normally wouldn't check to see if a new acquaintance is carrying a weapon, but this ancient instinct is still alive in us, even if it presents slightly differently. That's why it's key to keep your hands visible. It's no accident that we shake hands to greet someone and that criminals are told to put their hands up by police. The second aspect is posture. This is essential for positioning yourself as a successful, confident looking person, and this will attract people to you and make people want to talk to you. Now, finally, eye contact is a great way to tell someone that you are truly interested in them and what they have to say. Eye contact also sparks the production of oxytocin, which is a hormone that helps build trust and facilitate bonding. Now, the third takeaway from this book is decoding micro expressions. So, micro expressions are brief, involuntary facial expressions that people make when they feel an intense emotion. It's pretty common for people to feel one thing and say something entirely different. So when you can identify and decode the unconscious facial expressions that all people make, then you can determine what they really believe. So in the book, there are 7 micro expressions. So you have anger, which looks something like this. You have contempt. You have happiness. You have fear. You have surprise. You have disgust. And finally, you have sadness. As humans, we instinctively pick up on other people's microexpressions and body language on an unconscious level. But this also means that we will react on an unconscious level, and that reaction isn't always conducive to our desired outcome. Now, the goal is to identify and understand these micro expressions consciously so that we can choose how to react. So, let's say you're having a conversation with someone and something you have just said evokes a disgust micro expression in the other person. Now, if this was not your intended response, then by learning to identify this micro expression, you will have the opportunity to turn the conversation around by following it up with something that will hopefully induce a more positive reaction. Learning to read micro expressions in real time will take a lot of practice, and it certainly isn't something that you can pick up overnight. So, I read this book because I find human behavior particularly fascinating, but I have actually found it really difficult to apply this in social situations where I'm actively engaging in conversation. So, I know that it is something that is going to take ongoing practice. So, to conclude this review, Vanessa stresses the importance of working to your strengths in social situations and not faking it till you make it, because people will notice this whether it's unconscious or conscious. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this review, I have always to some degree undervalued the importance of the social game, and because of that, I never really made an effort to improve in this area. Unfortunately, this led to me becoming more and more socially awkward later in life, which certainly can make interacting with people rather difficult. This book ignited my desire to improve my interactions with people both at work and especially socially. I really enjoyed the practical tips provided by Vanessa in this book. However, I did kind of feel that it was still very high level information and that to really get the full benefits of her work, I would need to join the classes that she provides, which I might end up doing at some point because they do look pretty good. So, in the interim, I am trying to practice and apply what I've learned in this book to my everyday life. So, I really hope that you enjoyed this review and thank you for watching. See you next time.